Why are you so confident he'll change his behavior, Mr. President?
Yeah, I'm not confident changing behavior. What do you do all the time?
But given his past behavior has not changed, and in that press conference after sitting down with you for several hours, he denied any involvement in cyber attacks, he downplayed human rights abuses, he even refused to say Alexei Navalny's name. So how does that account to a constructive meeting as President Putin?
You don't understand that. You're in the wrong business.
Democrats are set to take control of the U.S. Senate, House, and the White House.
This will go down as one of the most progressive administrations in American history.
God willing, everything is on the table.
You now can pass things without a filibuster threat. That's right.
Oh, you'll regret this, and you may regret it a lot sooner than you think.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Welcome, good Thursday, everybody, to the Ruthless Variety Program. Our president, I believe, is taking direct shots at the Fourth Estate.
I'm going to be honest. I'm chilled. This is shocking. This is a direct attack on the First Amendment. This is a direct attack on the free press. I stand with Caitlin Collins. This is unbelievable. Overseas, this guy, our unfortunately ice cream, old man, degenerate in chief, and pudding, attacks journalists for doing their job. Democracy dies in darkness, and he's demanding, they are no longer critical of him. So I stand with Caitlin Collins. You heard that, folks. You heard that. He was like, hey, man, why aren't you doing your job? You're
in the wrong line of work.
You're in the wrong line of work.
Wow.
You should be in the propaganda business.
After a summit with Vladimir Putin,
Well,
no less.
Here's the thing, though, fellas, is that this is much more common than you think. You hear it from Biden now maybe for the first time because it's on an international stage. But this is what Nancy Pelosi does, I don't know, once a quarter when she's on CNN or something and somebody asks a real question. Like, the fact of the matter is most Democrats believe that it's the job of journalists to just be stenographers for what they have to say, right? So, like, Joe Biden is just absolutely incredulous about the idea that Caitlin Collins has flown overseas and is thinking about asking him a question, questioning whether or not he actually extracted anything from Vladimir Putin.
I mean, it's honestly, for any journalist, this is like question number one. This is the first question you should be asking if you're an actual journalist.
Yeah.
So, congrats to Caitlin Collins for being, one of the few and the proud remaining in this press corps. And for him to react like that, like, can anyone fathom what would happen if Trump told a
we
journal,
know.
do your job?
It's back to your point, Holmes. It's, Democrats are not used to having an adversarial press, and Biden, in his comments after that whole exchange with Caitlin Collins, said, and this is a quote, "Look, to be a good reporter, you got to be negative. You got to have a negative view of life." That's what he said. That's what Biden said. It encapsulates exactly what you're saying, is that they're so not used to having an adversarial press. They want stenographers.
Especially when they're in, their press room and they got Jen Psaki out there. And they're just like fawning and being like, oh, we're so happy. Even though our ratings are down 50%, we all worked to make sure that Joe Biden was elected. Please tell us things to run with. Give us the narrative that we should publish. And you see them in that room. And, oh, goodness. What's the name of that? The young guy from Fox News. He's the only one who actually does it.
Ducey?
Yeah,
Ducey.
Peter Ducey.
He's the only guy, shout out Ducey. He's the only guy who actually does his job.
Yeah.
And asks like a legitimate journalistic question. And everyone's like, wow, Ducey, what's wrong with you, man? It's not become a press corps. The idea that journalists are supposed to shine light and, provide comfort to the weak and hardship to the powerful or whatever.
Challenge power.
And there, it's none of these folks.
Dude, if you look and it's so funny.
Immediately
you read the replies to this, and all those resistance libs who,
oh yeah,
for 4 years were denouncing, Trump, calling, Jim Acosta fake news, are now in the replies of all these being like, Caitlin Collins needs to apologize. Her question was out of line.
It's so stunning.
You know, it's
stunning.
incredible.
It tells you these people believe nothing, and I
that's
think they
what
should be treated as such.
That's how they built their audience. We talk
Right.
about this all
Yep.
the time.
Yeah.
What they will find, and what unfortunately CNN's about to find out, is that everyone who is currently a viewer and a follower of their journalism expects them to be stenographers.
Right.
They don't expect an actual. They don't want to know, right? They just want to know that Biden is the best thing on the face of the planet, and the Republicans are insurrectionists.
And the funniest thing is, Holmes, is I think we believe in journalism as an institution
Yeah, they
a
don't.
lot more than they do.
They don't.
That like an adversarial press is like actually good and healthy for democracy, you know?
Well,
And-
if you talk to your average reporter, and I occasionally still do, but if you talk to your average reporter, what they'll tell you is it's much easier to deal with Republicans than it is Democrats, because Republicans expect that you're coming at them all the time.
Right.
When you actually ask a question like Caitlin did of the president, they hate it.
Yeah.
Man, they go nuts. And I just remember vividly Nancy Pelosi the last 2 times that she's been on CNN or
Dude,
something.
when she was on with Wolf Blitzer.
Oh, my God.
Train wreck.
Just melted her right to the
Yes.
core because she couldn't believe anybody would ask a serious question.
Right.
I think she's just like, why are you reading Republican talking points? It's like, dude, come on, man.
Oh, man.
Come on. Well, anyway, look, the G7, the Putin meeting. I will make this observation. It's got to be nice to be Joe Biden in terms of the latitude that you get to sort of set the conversation. You know, remember when Trump went and met with Putin, and it was like, "What did you say about the election fraud, election hack? What did you what
Release the transcripts.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Release the transcripts.
Right.
Remember that? Oh my gosh, I forgot about release the transcripts. He can kind of like set the agenda. What he wants to talk about. And they're like, oh, he's going to talk about this. He's going to talk
and
about
this is
that.
the thing. So, like, you know, we know that was all a hoax. It was absolute garbage. The source of this is basically when Hillary lost. Neera Tanden was like, well, I mean, we can't just like go out like that. We got to find somebody to blame. Like, I was promised my entire life, if I support you, Hillary, I'm going to be White House Chief of Staff. Who's the problem here? Let's create some like fake Cold War BS. So they create the Russia hoax essentially, and all the broken brain libs think that this country, which is what
They still
Russia's
do.
what, like the 17th on the planet by GDP. They think this is some like, you know, absolute threat to the United States, while China's just like, you know, running amok, doing whatever it wants. Anyways, so during President Trump's time, when he puts missile batteries back in Eastern Europe,
Right.
to keep Putin in check,
Yeah, they hate that.
right? When
He attacked those, he bombed those Russian planes in
The
Syria.
air bases, yeah.
Bingo.
Right.
Bingo.
We take out Soleimani, Iran, an ally of Russia.
Absolutely.
Right, but none of that matters.
Smokes 'em.
What matters is that America's back because Biden's there.
And meanwhile, you have Joe Biden who's like, I will shut down the pipelines in my country.
Right.
I am going to like endorse you having your pipelines so that you can turn Europe into your energy monopoly. And where are these libs? Where
Dude,
all-
Smug had this incredible tweet, and I don't know if he wants to mention it, but
Go for it.
I will mention it for him because it was incredible. Jennifer Jacobs tweeted out that among the gifts Biden gave Putin, a pair of custom aviators made by Randolph USA per White House. And Smug quote tweeted it, and he's like, it's not as nice as a multi-billion-dollar pipeline he gave him last month, but it's a nice touch.
That's the thing.
And it's just perfect.
That's
dude.
the thing is we have dealt with years of the media being essentially an arm of the DNC,
Right.
Where they're like, oh my goodness, like I remember Time Magazine had this cover of like they thought it was the Kremlin, but it's actually just like onion domes in Russia, because that's how journalists today are they're not the sharpest knives in the drawer. And they're like, wow, Russia's taking over America under Trump. He was one of the hardest presidents we have fighting Russia. That's counting the Cold War.
Right.
He was putting missile batteries in Eastern Europe, keeping them in check. He smoked Soleimani. I mean, we're talking smoke. There were pieces of that dude everywhere, right?
Right.
And Soleimani was a huge friend to Russia. And meanwhile, now you have Biden, who's like, oh, well, you know, Russians hack our, gasoline infrastructure. Oh, well, you know, we'll shut down our pipeline. We'll let them have a pipeline. And
Here's some aviators.
Here's some aviators. Thank you so much.
I will say
But
on
no
the
mean
aviator,
tweets. No mean tweets.
No
so.
mean
No mean
tweets.
tweets.
It's okay.
On the aviator front is a hilarious personal side note. I got my dad for Christmas these just awesome aviators, like the classic Ray-Ban. You know, like because I knew he would look great in these things. Got him, and he's pretty excited about them. All of a sudden, you know, Biden gets inaugurated, and this guy's just like wearing these aviators at all times. My dad shows up last week, and he's wearing a different pair of sunglasses. And I'm like, "What happened to the aviators, Dad? These are they look great on you." He's like, "I can't wear them, pal." Like, why?
That's awesome.
Like, why can't you wear them?
Man, that's awesome.
Because I'm an 80-year-old guy. If I wear them, everybody's gonna call me Joe Biden. I'm not gonna put up with
awesome.
that. I'm not gonna put up with that. I love it.
That's
Based
great.
Jim Holmes, a Democrat,
What a patriot.
a lifelong Democrat who is now decidedly not so.
That's great.
All right, so we got to get to 5 minutes with Foldi. We have a special. You know, we do this every so often.
Yeah. So there's this, for folks at home who don't know, there's a journalist. A lot of people are saying, you know, Pulitzer Prize worthy, whatever. We'll let the audience decide. There's this gentleman, Matthew Foldi, from Washington Free Beacon, highly respected publication, and he's been doing the work that most journalists don't, and that's called investigative journalism. And he's uncovered a lot of improprietary, a lot of very crooked business when it comes to this green company, Proterra. And let's bring him on the show to tell you folks the details.
What's the update, pal?
Fellas, it's great to be back on talking about green energy grift. Since we last spoke, Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm is now $1.6 million richer than she was just a month ago.
Yeah.
She sold 240,000 shares of non-public stock in this company called Proterra, which makes electric vehicle batteries. She sat on its board for several years, and the Biden administration, as we spoke about last time, has repeatedly boosted this event while she was a massive owner of its stock.
So to take a step back, there's this company Proterra that creates like electric batteries and such, and we had our energy secretary, right, who had a stake in this company and has a tremendous voice in our energy policy. She's got a stake in this company. So what do you think an individual like that would push for? I mean, whatever would make her rich. So, you know, kudos to you, Foldi, because he puts this story out there, and she's forced to sell her stake.
Yeah, you got a scalp, pal.
Right.
Yeah,
and
that's a pelt.
She sold the stock a couple of days after you came on the program last time, I think.
I feel like this is. Hold on, we need to bring the audience on. We've got Smug coaching Foldi on how to wear headphones.
Yeah, I mean, this is a given, folks.
Look, it's
Young
great to be
Foldi.
here in your new
The
studio.
input's the left.
I
It's
don't have as much
fantastic.
practice
Yeah.
being here as
you guys got.
do.
I wish. At some point, we're going to implement video. You have to see what's happening. The coaching was really terrific.
Smug is a gentleman.
We try to have like absolute prime sound quality, but so Foldi uncovers
right,
this, like,
right, and then 2
impropriety.
days later, it was
She's-
2
she
days
has to sell
she had
it.
to sell it.
It was almost immediately after we discussed it on this program.
Dude, so
Yeah.
how much do you think you actually cost her though, by the fact that she couldn't
She lost so
wait for
much
the
money
IPO?
on being exposed.
Oh, that's a great question.
right? Like how much do you think she lost if this thing would have went
If it
to
goes
IPO?
public, it's going to triple.
and
right?
it was pre-IPO.
It was before it debuted on the NASDAQ this week.
Ooh, having to
She
sell
missed
pre-IPO.
out on millions of dollars. We're working on calculating.
Dude, her
if we can to the
kids are
exact-
coming after you,
Oh,
brother.
yeah, well,
What a scalp, pal.
That's a
good
good
for
one.
you, young
but it's
Foldi.
not only Granholm who's making tons of money from this company. And I asked the Energy Department in the White House, who is this undisclosed private buyer she sold it to? Because she sold before it was public. We have no idea who she sold 240,000 shares to.
Really?
Oh,
No,
interesting.
They have been. it's been
How
radio
shady
silent.
is
Wait,
that?
do they have no obligation to disclose that?
Not in the moment. I mean, I've asked the Energy Department in the White House, who is this non-disclosed private buyer she sold hundreds of thousands of shares to weeks before the company debuts on the NASDAQ? I've heard absolutely
That information should be public.
Yeah,
the energy
no kidding.
secretary sold her private listing shares to someone who we don't know. We don't know who bought them.
Dude, it
We
doesn't
don't
even
know.
have
For
to be a
$1.6
person.
million.
Could she have sold them to some sort of formulated LLC? I mean, who the hell knows?
I mean, she
Exactly.
theoretically could have sold it to her husband.
Right.
We
Wow.
do not know. But it's not just Granholm who's poised to make millions and millions of dollars from Proterra and from the Biden administration's green energy initiatives more broadly. I reported earlier this week that one of the earliest investors in Proterra is none other than Al Gore.
Oh. Whoa. I mean, this guy's been in the game grifting off green for a minute.
Guys, here's the thing about Democrats and energy.
Yeah.
Right? The thing about, like, Republicans have always been for an all-of-the-above energy portfolio, right? The little bit of everything. We want to make sure that we're more than anything independent from other countries and our sources of energy, and we can kind of, like, be on our own. What Democrats have done, literally since I have been involved in politics, is try to figure out how to become invested in companies that they then, when they get power, promote, not just in the typical way that we're talking about with you, Foldi, in terms of going to events and talking about this, but they actually create tax credits. They create federal funding mechanisms. They literally create new programs to try to support all of these things that they themselves and their donors have invested in while they were out of power. It's truly unbelievable.
That's the thing is, like, I saw someone point this out with statistics. The Green New Deal would be the greatest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich in American history, because who's making the money is, like, folks like Granholm and Al Gore at the top, who have an equity stake in these, like, quote, green companies, and who's losing out is, like, all the West Virginia coal miners who were told by journalists, learn to code. This isn't about being sustainable. This isn't about ideology. This is about
it's
money.
cash money.
Bingo.
It's the story of Solyndra.
Mind you, the biggest polluter in the world is who? China. Who has a virtual monopoly on the rare earths to create these batteries?
Yep,
China.
Right.
China.
Right.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Amazing. It's not so good.
How did that work out?
It's not so good.
Holmes, I want to point out how right you are here in terms of what happened with Proterra specifically, because I think it's good to point out, broadly speaking, that that's the case. But with Proterra, Al Gore was on the phone directly with Biden last month, and Al Gore, who is not a lobbyist, was reported to be speaking with the president about the importance of not decoupling climate and infrastructure.
No.
3
for
weeks
precisely
before
this reason.
Proterra, in which his firm that he founded after losing the 2000 election helped raise $55 million.
No way.
And, his firm is still invested. It's on their website. Proterra is listed under our clients. So he spoke with Biden. He spoke with Biden's top aide, Steve Ricchetti. That's exactly what you're talking about.
Wow.
And, yeah, we reported this. We care about it on the program. We care about it at the Free Beacon.
So basically, he's an unregistered lobbyist for a company in which he's invested in, and he's pushing the Biden administration to keep this as part of
But this is what they do.
Right.
And then oftentimes what they do is send one of their own into the government itself to actually implement it. Right. In this case, it's Granholm. If you remember back, and I'm going to forget the names, we should probably do the research on it at a separate time. But in the Solyndra case, it was exactly the same situation. There were investors. They sent one of their own into the government, right? It became a big thing. All of a sudden, the house of cards fell. But it's like all of this is a very well thought through economic development project that liberals have had for generations. Oh. It's incredible. It's just like flat corrupt. That's what corruption is.
And the thing is unless we brought you here, Foldi, no one would know.
Nobody would know.
No, truly. It's astonishing.
Pulitzer.
Outstanding work. Foldi deserves a Pulitzer for it. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Fellas, I look forward to coming back. Talk to you guys soon.
Thanks,
Thanks,
so
Foldi.
much.
I can appreciate, for one, how your pronunciation of Pulitzer is just, it's got like the proper.
It's got a gravitas to it, really.
Yeah, it's this smug's got a little something extra to it.
I think in tweets.
Well, some say Pulitzer.
Yeah, no, I think it's probably in its native
You've
tongue.
got cicada.
Cicada.
I think we should create some journo awards that we call like the Grummies, like the Grammys. It's like the Grummies.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, we are like the last bastion of journalism. So
awarding certain journalists like Matthew Foldi the awards that they're due.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's real reporting. That's real.
I like
really
that.
good stuff.
I like that. I think also maybe like an award for the worst journalism.
Yeah, that too.
Where you do like the opposite of the Pulitzer, you do like a full of shitzer.
Nice.
Something like that.
Nice.
I think that would be good.
I like it. All right, we have to think this through, but I think it's all good. Couple of things we have to also mention.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted, especially Holmes, to get into. So we had Senator Durbin just equated ending the filibuster to storming the beaches of Normandy on D-Day, running straight into enemy fire.
I mean, how do you? First of all, this is a Senate procedure, which in no way, as strongly as I feel about the filibuster, should never in any way be equated to anything in World War II, let alone like maybe the most heroic moment that this country has ever had.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. But this is a guy in particular with Dick Durbin, who was perhaps the most outspoken defender of the filibuster right up until they won the majority.
Yep.
Right.
So this guy said back in, I'm looking at it in 2019, I think, said the filibuster would end the Senate as we know it.
Yeah.
It would end it. Now it's D-Day. I mean,
It's incredible.
how does anybody take these people seriously? It's the most blind partisan nonsense of all time.
Well, so even before they were filibustering, Tim Scott's police reform bill,
Which no one should forget.
Right.
Always remember that.
And
The
COVID
Democrats,
they filibustered
months ago.
COVID relief when Trump was president. Harry Reid, who now says we got to get rid of the filibuster.
Oh, yeah, now
Harry
he's out of the
Reid
Senate.
led a war room when George W. Bush was president to preserve the filibuster.
Yes.
Saying it was as American as the flag, an apple pie. The filibuster preserves minority rights in the Senate. It's key to building consensus. But now, getting rid of it is storming the beaches of Normandy.
I mean, I don't know how you can ever make that comparison. This is the same guy. I remember years ago him making just absolutely ridiculous comparisons to Nazi Germany about some issue. He's been in trouble in the rhetorical business for
a long time.
For a long time,
Seriously.
right? So, but how can you be undisciplined enough and partisan enough to have that sort of 180 in the course of like 72 months when the only thing that's changed is who holds the majority?
Right.
These people are so dishonest.
They are so dishonest.
Seriously.
It's amazing to me that we actually have to have a public conversation about this. We talked a little bit on the program last week about how when Democrats defy their leadership, they are beaten down, right? Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are just absolutely beaten
Perfect
down,
example.
right? When Republicans do it, they're heroes, absolute heroes.
Mm-hmm.
But the same is true of the issue selection that we're talking about, too. If you look at the filibuster, that was sacrosanct
Right.
when Republicans held the majority.
Mm-hmm.
It was sacrosanct. You couldn't even discuss the idea of getting rid of the filibuster. And frankly, Republicans didn't want to because they have some institutional integrity and pride to begin with. Soon as Democrats get their hands on power, they start calling it filibuster reform.
Oh, yes.
Oh, it's reform.
I mean, they're on the move. They know they want total control. They want to federalize elections. They want to pack the Supreme Court. And they can't pass any of their Looney Tunes things without being like, okay, we can have zero opposition. Look what they're doing to Manchin.
It's incredible.
These are not people who tolerate dissent.
Well, I actually sort of selfishly kind of enjoy this now. I got to be honest with you because...
Oh, they're making their bed.
Well, number one, there's a ticking clock to all of this. Right?
Yeah.
Every day that passes, they want to eliminate the filibuster more. But as far as like the legislative calendar works, as we all know, and for our listeners who don't know, every day that passes is less time for them to actually extract value out of removing the filibuster before everyone's going to be thinking about the midterms.
And
if they lose the House, what the fuck did they do it for?
I know it.
That's why I think they are so heavily into this is they want that 1-2 punch. They want to get rid of the filibuster, but to make sure they never have to deal with opposition,
Well, and
they
that's
want
why
to
they
federalize
want
elections.
Right. That's why they want.
Well, they
S1,
said as
right.
much, right? AOC said basically it's not enough to hope that you win elections. That you actually have to pass this legislation in order
Gave
to
the
ensure
game away.
Gave the game away.
gave it.
That's what this is about.
Which, by the way, they're dealing with next week. S1 goes on the calendar next week. They're dealing with it in the Senate. But I mean, I think first of all, Senate Republicans have done an absolutely terrific job, as have the minions. Frankly, who've been just jumping up and down on this, making sure that that's about as unpopular as cancer, which it is. But but there's a hidden genius to what you were talking about with the clock. Right. And like when you're in the minority, if you've got an astute minority leader, as Mitch McConnell is, they got a big hanging clock in their office. And that's the only thing you're watching, right? You got to figure out how is it that you can delay the worst parts of this agenda.
And this isn't a partisan thing. I mean,
No.
Democrats did the exact same thing with all of Trump's appointees and all the nominations, making us, hold cloture votes on everyone. They were trying to run out the clock too. This isn't a thing that we somehow came up with, but it's just something you do when you're in the minority.
It's something you do. And so, look, they're working their way through this stuff, but S1 is on the docket next week. Everybody should tune into that.
Eyes on the prize, folks.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit more about that. But we also have Father's Day coming up.
Yes.
We got Father's Day coming up. And I'm a dad. I want some gear. Frankly, Ruthless gear.
Okay.
So how does that work? Like, especially when you got kids. I remember I was a kid. Like, I relied on my older sisters to make the call on, like, what am I contributing to? You
have low expectations.
At what point is the dad that, like, wife, like, here's what I'm after?
You know what you end up asking for, and I think Ashbrook is a longtime dad on our team will appreciate this uniquely, is that you end up just asking for, like, time.
I just want a day to watch golf.
I want time.
That's it.
Don't buy me anything. Just
Nothing.
give me a like 6 hours by myself.
I want 6 hours of Jim Nance and a nap on the couch. That's all I want.
If I could get that, I'd be the happiest man in show business.
Yeah.
That's an elusive gift.
It is. And Father's Day is an elusive gift in our current climate, I think, overall.
I mean, I'm shocked. Like, with the current language that the Dems are pushing, they're like, it's not Mother's Day, it's birthing people.
Right.
Birthing people's day.
This may be our last Father's Day, folks.
Yeah.
Well, I read that there was a school board that removed all holiday names from their calendar to be more inclusive and equitable.
Good God. I can only imagine the nightmare that is. We can't have Father's Day. It's Inseminator's Day, folks.
Inseminator's Day.
Right?
Unbelievable.
And we're celebrating Birthing People's Day in May. Let's try to be inclusive.
Well, you got to be non-binary about it. You can't.
It's unbelievable. Like, this is where we are. It's like, the holiday, birds are racist. The holidays are named incorrectly. School boards. That's what's shocking is, like, these are tax dollars going to these people being nut jobs.
Now, you got to be, that's where it becomes concerning. The rest of it's sort of humorous, but the fact that they're trying to teach our kids this is just absolutely alarming.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally alarming. So, but it got us to thinking, like, if we can't celebrate holidays, well, screw that. We're always going to celebrate all the holidays. But if you could add a holiday, if you could add one, just like blue sky, what do you celebrate, Smug?
I mean, well, it's a great question. Number one, some of our listeners might be too young to remember, but when President Barack Hussein Obama was president, he canceled Christmas. It was like not allowed. It was a very dark time in our history. We had to be in secret celebrating Christmas. Christmas is, honestly, personally, it's my favorite holiday. Great holiday. You got lights, you got eggnog, you got gifts. I'd probably go for like a Christmas 2. Like, keep that rolling for beyond the 25th.
I love
past
that
the new
there's
year.
no Christian connection. Christmas 2.
Like
Jesus.
I mean, no one's working.
Do you do it after New Year's?
I mean, no one's working from the 25th to the 1st.
Right.
Let's be serious,
So
right?
So
You
New
throw it
Year's
in
is
again?
kind of Christmas.
So, like,
too.
the 2nd. Like, I want some holiday on the 2nd,
Oh.
which, I mean, something had to have happened on January 2nd throughout history, right? So it's just like you got to give gifts throughout it. 25th to the 2nd.
I like that.
Okay. Well, I mean, so it's just lots of days of Christmas gifts.
Bingo. Everyone's. With
It
their
sounds a little like
family.
Hanukkah, frankly.
You're eating a lot of food. The Hanukkah folks will be 100% on board with this. It brings everyone on the same level. Everyone's anticipating the same thing, gifts and such.
I think in the spirit of Father's Day, if I could add one more holiday to the calendar, it would be first cut of the grass day. A day in spring when you bring the mower out, first cut of the season. Maybe the
That's
gas is
such a Duncan answer.
maybe
That
the
is a
gas,
Duncan answer.
maybe the gas is spoiled. Maybe you got to clear the lines. You got to clear the
He's
carb
out
bowl.
there getting himself dirty.
Yeah, you got to put a little fuel enhancer in there in the carburetor. You get her humming along, and you cut the grass. And you know what? You've earned that beer. When that's done, you've really earned that beer.
Yeah, you come back and
Unmolested
smell-
cold beer.
You come back and you're smelling like gas.
And
This
that's
is
the
what
tradition.
That's the tradition. That's what makes it a holiday.
Yeah.
Is you're given the extra time that it takes to warm that mower back up. It's been winterized.
Yeah.
But you get that extra time during the day. No one's going to bother you. You're going to work on that mower. You're going to get it ready to go. You're going to cut that lawn, and you're going to sit down with a beer.
That's a great. I like
It's
that.
a good
I
holiday.
endorse
You
that
like that?
holiday. I
Okay.
endorse that holiday. Here's mine. No brainer. I think the entirety of the listenership will immediately endorse it. The day after the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That is useful.
The
That's
day
helpful.
after the Super Bowl.
It's already unofficial, right?
It is the least productive day
Yes.
in the United States. There's not a single person who's fully on board with work the next morning.
Right.
Let's just make it official.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm
Great
with you.
call. Great call.
Okay. All right. So, one other thing I just want to touch on just for a second. Do you guys see this Hunter Biden painting situation?
Oh my God. Yes.
It's amazing.
So, I mean, the guy's selling artwork. What's the name of this gallery? You're the Swag, you know how to
where
pronounce
is it?
this shit. This
I mean, I saw this, and
Georges Berges guy is a French guy anyway.
What
Must be
impresses
famous.
me is that they were like, we guarantee anonymity for buyers, which is like, okay, how is this not like?
And the buyer's like, can I do the opposite? Can
Well,
I make sure that the Bidens know it?
Well, I mean, how is this not like a money
Yeah, right,
laundering
right.
operation?
Right.
It's like, okay,
Give me a meeting with the big man.
If
Yeah.
if I'm in Bulgaria and I'm trying to get like an energy contract through, I'm gonna buy a painting. I'm gonna kick 10% up to the big man, and know that I'm gonna be anonymous.
Well, so here's the thing.
What a setup!
He's selling artwork for up to $1 million. Set aside what you think of your artwork and art taste. And I haven't actually seen the artwork, so I don't know if it's any good or not.
Georges Berger. I'm gonna say Georges Berger.
I knew that I could count on the old man.
I took some French. I think it's Georges Berger.
I knew I could count on him. It's just so worldly.
Yeah.
Nobody would ever mistake Hunter Biden as a classically trained, naturally gifted artist of our time.
No.
This guy is a cocaine and hooker addict.
Right.
And also
To be
an executive
real.
of an energy company.
That's not an
with no
exaggeration.
experience
Right.
in managing energy companies.
Now, I'm not saying it can be completely mutually exclusive. You can like cocaine and hookers and be a good artist. I think that, but you can't go for like, what is he, 45, 50 years old? You can't go for 50 years of just doing the cocaine and the hookers without the art and then all of a sudden become a great artist, right?
You
That
never
doesn't
know.
just show
You know,
up.
Age is but a number. You know, he
Oh, so
has
you're
his
saying-
interests.
Oh, you're gonna back Hunter
this
here.
up.
Wow. I didn't know.
You
I
didn't
was
see
gonna-
this coming.
So, you know, a lot of folks will be shocked. Listen, you know, age is a number. He's a guy. He likes Instagram influencer girls. The one that he knocked up, right, and married. Instagram influencer. All right. You know, the guy's been through a lot. Maybe he wants to sell his art to foreign adversaries of America and not have to deal with journalists being like, "Why'd you sell this like painting of a flower for $2 million
You know what's so
to
funny?
an Eastern European energy company?"
Yeah, it's so funny. It's gonna be so funny when the estate of some commodities trader, who that's doing 20.
Yeah.
20 years
Has
in
this
prison.
sucker hanging.
Has some buys some one of these paintings and then gets a pardon in 2 years.
Oh yeah.
I
mean, you're gonna see that.
Totally gonna see it. All right. I just had to mention it because I think it's so good. You'd be blind if you didn't notice the summer of violence is upon us.
It is.
No.
You'd be blind.
I know. I don't want it.
Did you see the joggers that were
Yes.
shot in Atlanta?
Yes.
Jeez.
And and in Minneapolis, there was a bunch of protests because a guy who was accused of murder was being apprehended by U.S. Marshals and was in a firefight and was killed, and so now we have to protest that, evidently.
Yeah.
And then amidst the protest, there became another bunch of stuff. I mean, it's just like this is a summer of violence.
I mean, what
Smug is right.
What
I know
you got to
it
go
hurts
back
me
to
to say it, but he was right.
August 27th, 2020. Joe Biden sends out, remember, every example of violence Donald Trump decries has happened on his watch, under his leadership, during his presidency. Folks, this is going to be, the Biden riots are coming back.
The Biden riots are
for
coming.
this summer of violence.
It's here. Well, it related to that. 3,000 unruly passenger reports are made to the FAA so far this year.
3,000. And this is like with COVID. Like under, finally travel is coming back to its levels. Like I think the FAA said the other day we had 2 million people in airports, relatively back to normal. But we have 3,000
Dude, this is great.
unruly
This is a great quote. FAA is investigating the highest number of suspected federal law violations since it began recording unruly passenger incidents in 1995, according to ABC. That's just an incredible.
And I feel like on the program we've told people like, let's keep it together. Let's do
I mean, we try for
our people are holding the line.
Yeah, no, they're good.
Our people are the people that are trying to help these folks.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
but
my
these
question
people,
is, how many of these airlines have started serving coach again? I mean, what do you expect?
I knew
like,
you were
these people,
guys
they've
got
been cooped
a
up.
blind spot
you
for
know,
coach class.
Back there, they're just crazy.
Back
these
there.
are dangerous people.
Back there.
You know, you add
He's
alcohol
like
to
Billy
the
Zane
equation.
in Titanic. Unbelievable.
This is like throwing fuel on the fire.
The next time you walk by to your seat on an airline and you see some guy who's got like everything but a headdress and like full garb of a sitting with a full plate out in front of them, that's probably smug.
100%. I mean, that's the thing is, I think you reap what you sow, right? So if everyone has not been around other people, in our usual numbers for a significant amount of time, you get these people on a metal tube for hours, right? And you're going to serve the folks in the back alcohol? What do you think's going to happen? It's like Royal Rumble.
It's one of your worst takes.
Worst take.
It's one of your worst takes. The anti-populist take. I love it. So we got to bring in Hollywood Henn to the program. This is quickly becoming one of my favorite segments.
Honestly, it's probably our most popular segment. Like at this point, the fans love Hollywood Henn.
They do.
Let's get this segment rolling.
They do. So, Henn, what do we got?
We've got a couple great updates. And I will say, I do need to give a shout out to the Minions because they are very active on my Twitter timeline, especially when they see Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck together. They just remind me of my loss every single time that they're together, and it's hilarious.
Hell yeah.
But that is not what I'm here to talk about today.
Okay.
There is an update for you guys that I think will be of interest. Tiger Woods has been seen for the first time since his horrific car accident.
Fantastic.
He was spotted in LA. So he was on crutches in LA.
Right.
He was riding in a golf cart. And
oh, wait, hold on. Pause on that. So he was spotted in LA.
Yes. So, and he's been doing his rehab, in Florida, but he was in LA when he was getting.
Well, that's it's kind of interesting to me, right? Because he was injured in LA, right?
Correct.
Or
yes.
in California somewhere. And then I thought he went back to Jupiter, Florida. Now he's back. So he's well enough to travel.
Well enough to travel. He did say, he gave an interview recently where he said his rehab from this accident has been the most painful thing he's ever experienced. And his number one goal right now is walking on his own.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it sounds like it was really, obvious.
Very bad.
Very bad.
I'm rooting for him so much.
No
he
kidding.
is such a champion.
Total goat.
Such a champion. Like that documentary that HBO had on him made me respect him even more. So much more.
Dude, America roots for Tiger. I remember I was in New York with my wife in 2019 for that Masters. We were actually up there for like a baby moon, before my wife was very, very pregnant at the time, and we were hanging out around, Central Park and stuff and doing tourist things. And it was that Masters Sunday. and I'll never forget how many people were in the street making a beeline to the bar.
Oh yeah,
You know,
totally.
everyone was making a beeline trying to find a TV because Master's Sunday.
He's gonna show up in
Tiger,
red.
right? Tiger's making a
Sunday
a
Tiger.
charge, and everyone in that bar was rooting for him. It was just, I think everyone is rooting for him to come back again.
And you like in Smug, you like his Denny's game, don't you?
That's the thing is, what's really heartbreaking. Like this guy, it's like an endless tragedy, and he continues to overcome. His wife tries to ruin his life. He continues to overcome. He has injuries. He continues to overcome.
Wait. What'd you say there?
The take is I mean, it's not even a take. His wife tries to ruin his life. The guy,
His wife, the Swedish model, or whoever.
At the time, so he's at the top of his game, right? This is
He was cheating on his wife.
No,
Yeah, he's cheating on his wife, but somehow
no.
it's her fault?
So she attacks the car he's in with like a golf club, right?
Come on.
This is like the start of all the problems. Like we had Tiger, who was just like an endless winner. The guy's gonna break the record without a doubt. He was winning like 3 majors a year, and then she flips out and attacks his car with a golf club. Like a lot of people say the most difficult decision, the most important decision a man makes in his life is his choice in a wife, right? And it breaks my heart. Like he thought he had it, and then she just ruins him, and he's never been the same. The thing is that I don't think any normal man would be able to come back from what he has come back from and accomplished after that attack.
It was an attack.
But still he rises.
It was of his own doing.
The guy drives so hard he was tearing his body apart.
That was
like,
the
he is
beginning,
that
by the
incredible.
way. That was the beginning of the rehab. When we were talking about like how you go about putting yourself back together after a public scandal, and someone's like, "I'm going to rehab." His was like the sex rehab camp.
I mean, you know what? I hope he got his help that he needed.
There's no chance he's recovering.
He's one of these guys who's like in a Denny's or Perkins waitresses. But hey, marriage is a give and take. The guy's got a place on Jupiter Island. He's winning 3 majors a year. He's giving you a couple beautiful kids, one at least. I don't know how many. And then she's like, you know what? Let's just ruin this guy's life.
You think he earned it? Cheating on her, basically.
It's just unbelievable, Smug. Unbelievable.
She may have lacked the understanding in that
to be
department.
cheated on.
Yeah, that he was sleeping with basically everyone around him.
Unbelievable.
But he is the GOAT. I'm in Tiger's camp forever. I wish him well.
So here's the question for you all. Let me just give you a quick rundown of his injuries, and then I want to ask if you think he can make a full recovery. So, open fractures affecting his tibia and fibia, injuries to his foot and ankle, trauma to the muscle and soft tissues of the leg that required surgical release to relieve the pressure.
It was compound. The sucker came out of his leg.
Yeah,
he was knocked unconscious, laceration to his jaw, bruised ribs, fractured, just a right angle injury, everything. Do you think that he will be able to actually come back and then play again?
Well, was his right leg?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So better than the left. If you're a right-handed golfer, and the problem that he had in his knee was he was swinging so hard, and to make that turn and to release your hips through the swing, that left knee was taking much torque.
Left.
So there's a little less stress on the back leg of the swing. That being said, a compound fracture is especially at his age is I think impossible.
There's one thing you don't do though, and it's bet against Tiger.
That's my thing.
I get it, and that's why America loves him.
Every other human, no chance.
Right.
But this is such a driven man.
Yes.
Such a driven guy.
In every regard, he strives.
Right?
Right.
Oh,
and that's what America loves. America loves a tragic hero, like somebody who's flawed, who has faults, but is incredibly driven and ambitious. Those ambitions come with a dark side, unfortunately. But that's why we also root for them.
And that's the thing. Like, when you mentioned that Masters when he won that, hugs his son. What a moment! Coming back from his wife essentially attacked him.
The best part,
all his money.
No, just no.
Right.
Throws him out of his mindset.
The sentimental
and he's
moment
like, you know what?
Ruined by
I am still gonna come back from this.
Yeah.
Because he loves his family. He's gonna have his son on the Masters, watch him win.
He loves his family so much he cheated on their mother.
So much.
That
Grand Slam.
just reeks of love.
Ordering the Grand Slam on a regular basis. What else? What else do we have here?
Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, so for all of our listeners, Tiger is making somewhat of a comeback
God
in
bless
progress.
him.
That's the update there, and it's good to see him out and about. Okay, the second story that's really all over the place is more of this Chrissy Teigen story.
This lady.
So Chrissy Teigen, married to John Legend, a model, a host, all this. We discussed it once before on the program, but she has really gotten into hot water over the tweets that she had sent people previously. She had slid into people's DMs and said horrible things to other celebrities, including, you might as well be dead, all of these other things that really obviously negatively affected these other people. And she got in hot water. People canceled her. She wrote a huge apology on Medium the other day saying, I'm a horrible person. I take full responsibility. This has been a learning experience, blah, blah, blah. But the newest update is that she wants to have a Meghan Markle Oprah-style interview to salvage her reputation.
Oh, come on.
So she's being advised to go into hiding and lay
Incredible.
low. But Chrissy is in talks with Oprah to do a Meghan Markle sit-down type interview and tell her truth. Chrissy is a fighter and believes that she's such an excellent communicator that there isn't a mess she can't talk her way out of.
I mean, can we hold on before we get into like the Chrissy Teigen part of this? What about the Meghan Markle interview with Oprah? Does anyone think went well?
Yeah, right. Like this
That's
is a model.
that was my first takeaway.
It's a model to emulate.
I mean, it's literally the worst interview I've ever seen anyone give ever. Like
they knew what's his name. Philip was on his deathbed.
Yeah,
and they still went with it because they wanted a podcast.
I would argue.
They wanted a Spotify contract. Like throw the old man in his grave. Let's get that Spotify money.
I think that interview with Oprah only hurt their reputation. I don't know that it helped. I mean, it didn't do one bit of good for them. So why Chrissy thinks this is going to be good for her, I have no idea.
What I love about it is there's a lot of talk in our culture these days about privilege. There's no greater privilege in American pop culture than being, a brain dead resistance lib who has the privilege of getting the reputation salvaged by somebody like Oprah. Like imagine a scenario where somebody who's a conservative would be given that sort of platform to salvage their reputation. It would never, ever, ever happen. And this is somebody.
No, they're run out. They don't even need to do anything wrong.
Right. Right. This is somebody who built their entire, Twitter timeline attacking Republicans and being holier than thou. And then, at the same time, sliding into people's DMs and saying, I wish you. What did she say?
She was like,
you might as kill yourself.
You might as well be dead.
You might as well be dead. Your career is over. Just watch. Yeah.
What an absolute ghoul. Absolute complete ghoul. And to think that you're entitled to have your reputation salvaged, not only salvaged, but that you deserve a platform like Oprah to do so is such an incredible amount of privilege that only you could get if you were a liberal in Hollywood.
So there are so many victims in this, like, that guy that she ruined. I mean, like this was especially, essentially a sport for her.
Right.
Let's find someone, ruin their life on Twitter, make them feel like they're absolute trash, try to end their career. Who was another victim? It's John Legend. Imagine having to deal with it.
So
again,
he's like, okay,
again,
he's like, let's,
he's like, here I am with my beautiful voice.
I mean, and the guy's like, it's insanely smart. He's like a graduate of like some Ivy League grad, right? And great guy. I mean, he's got a voice. The guy can
calmly playing
right?
the piano in the corner.
He comes home and he's like, hey, what's happening? We got kids. Let's hang out. And she's on her phone, just like ruining lives.
I got canceled. I canceled a bunch of people.
He's like, what?
Just stirring up shit.
You know what I mean?
So he retweeted her apology or reposted on Instagram and, quote tweeted it and said, we're all better than our worst mistakes, one of those. And
he gets
asked about it.
It's Harry. It's just so like Harry and Meghan.
Yeah, it is.
Well, he should, let her go, dude. Let her go. You can do better. You don't have to deal with this.
people are turning on him on Twitter because they're like, you know what? How could you be
doesn't
married
deserve
to they're like, how could you be married to someone so mean? He knew that she was mean this entire time. It's not like her personality came out of nowhere. She's just
Well, he
finally
can't
getting
let this
caught.
affect him. He's gonna have to cut her loose. if
Yeah,
that-
I mean, he's a nice guy. I mean, the guy he puts out great music. The guy can play.
Now he's getting asked about it. He was just out and about in LA or somewhere recently, and every single question from the paparazzi was about Chrissy Teigen.
There
And
you
he
go.
was like, she's
There you
doing
go.
great. Don't worry, guys.
What a nightmare.
I mean, that's like a rule of thumb, you know. If
She's
everyone's
gonna take
asking
you
about who
down.
you're with, it's time to cut them loose.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know about that, but it is it is ruining his reputation for better or for worse. So
Mug's unabashed pro man takes today are so
No, I mean,
good.
you know, it could go
So
both ways.
hot.
Anyways, you know,
Such hot take.
John Legend, you can do better. I know. You know, it's a high likelihood he's a listener. The way we're putting up numbers, like statistically, there's a chance he's listening.
I
John,
wonder if he'd
you
sing a
can do
little
better.
ditty.
Chrissy's causing problems. You know, you deserve better, amigo.
but like she's always been this way. And so he must have liked something about that for the past however long they've been married. She's been
Yeah.
a jerk the whole time.
Well, here my again, we go like what fascinates each of us is obviously very different. But what fascinates me about her and her statements and how she's tried to rehab is the rehab. It's the same thing with Tubin, right? You go to the soup kitchen.
Yep.
And it's like, oh no, don't worry about me masturbating in front of colleagues. I'm in the soup kitchen. It's like I totally understand the connection, but okay, Jeffrey, thanks for your help. She says she's gone to all this therapy.
Yeah.
And like I've always been a firm believer that like you can teach smart people anything, but you can't teach somebody not to be an asshole.
That's right. That's
a great
right.
point.
Right.
It's inherent in her core.
You
Yeah.
can't unscrew that light bulb. Like
Mm-mm.
if you're a jerk, like she's been a jerk, that's just who she is.
It
right?
is who she is. It is who she is. Which is why did he marry her? Because I would argue he could have gotten anybody.
Yeah.
I don't know what made her so special.
Yeah. I mean, I think Connie's another prime example. You know, if you're married to someone who's just like
Now we're
endless
gonna
problems,
Attack another woman.
always giving you trouble.
Unbelievable.
Listen, find yourself a Russian supermodel. This isn't calculus.
Well,
You know what I was wondering? Hey, you know what I was wondering about that? You think Arena and Kanye line up politically?
I guarantee
Because
it.
one of the reasons why he
Oh.
had an issue with Kim was that they were kind of diverging politically. And I
Yeah.
wonder if Arena's like a secret repub.
Yeah, she strikes me as like very much, you know, God and country. And I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy for him. He's done with that madness. I really think it's like not just like a, you know, it's gonna be endless DGF dude victories this summer. You're seeing it with Ben Affleck. You know, John Legend joined the trend. You know, once
Tiger
you have a third,
Woods now out and about.
bingo. Once you have three, it's a trend. It's gonna be either Tiger or it's gonna be John Legend. Jump in, let's get that hat trick.
Okay. Hen, unless you have another man that needs help, I think we're probably done with the Hollywood segment.
All right, let me skip ahead because I want to get to something that's really important here. We've talked about this consistently about the red wave is coming, right? Nobody wants to listen to us. There are very few in the political reporting or analyst committee who want to even, I guess, accept the fact that we know what we're talking about here.
They don't want to face the facts at all.
No. So you're going to read a lot about how, like, oh, the suburbans are still pissed off about January 6th and January 6th and January 6th and January 6th. But, like, the reality is that America has moved on here, and they're concerned about the economy. They're concerned about what the Biden administration is doing on a whole bunch of different – they're concerned, frankly, that prices for everything are about 10 times as much.
I mean, this is the disconnect between our media class, especially like CNN folks, who've seen their ratings beyond like cut in half.
Yeah.
Right? Who are trying to push this agenda that we've told our folks don't take the bait. They want to talk about the past. They wish they could get ratings that they did under Trump. Right? They're trying to push an agenda that's, you know, it's over. We're in June of 2021, and they wish they could relive the past. They don't want to deal with the present. And the fact is, the conservative base is activated. They're out there. We are winning races. So
we don't need to talk about the bullshit polls that the media puts out every once in a while. We'll actually talk about voting results, which is what we've done almost every week on the program. There was a special election in Georgia.
Yeah. So there are two special elections, and neither was good news for Dems. The Dem got 14%, Biden got 25%. Meanwhile, Republicans, I want to make sure I pronounce this correctly. Devon Seabog pulls 45%.
Yeah, I mean, the point is that Republicans are significantly overperforming consistently, overperforming in every single race, no matter whether it is a congressional special election, a school board race, state house race, which is this case. You've seen it over and over and over again, and you would not get this information if you weren't listening to the Ruthless Variety program.
And what's very important here and very significant is this is not just based on, because the media won't tell you the story. This is not just based on messaging. This is based on results. So 17 of the top 20 states for jobs recovered from the pandemic are led by Republican governors. The top 12, all Republican governors.
Let's go.
Let's go. Well, you listen to this program. I mean, look, impressive as hell. Greg Abbott.
Yeah, we bring
impressive as hell.
Gianforte, the king.
I mean, that guy was hugely solid.
Utah and Idaho now have more jobs than before the pandemic hit.
That's incredible.
Both of those are Republican states.
Incredible.
And the thing that's really important to remember about these election results that we're talking about today, it's in Georgia.
It's in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
This is ground zero for the tipping point of how we win back the majority in the House and the Senate.
Yep. That's right. That's right. Important stuff. All right, look, we have a ton of we could do this for like 3 more hours, but we got to play a game.
We have to give the people what they want.
We got to play a game. Let's get to it.
King of the Hill.
All right.
Let's go.
I've got the defending champion.
So you have Matt Dowd.
Matthew Mailpattern.
And he has been the champion here for a number of weeks. Who are you bringing to the table here today,
I am
Smug?
bringing Tom Nichols, Radio Free Tom.
Wow.
An expert among experts.
I think he's a good fit with you. Like, I feel like I have a nice fit with Dowd. I've carried an awful lot. I think he's the winningest King of the Hill participant. I feel like I have a nice bond with him. I feel like your bond with Radio Free Tom is a worthy adversary.
His tweets irk me so much.
All right, so let's go. What do we do?
Let's go ringside.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. Welcome back to King of the Hill. In the red corner, hiding out of the Harvard Extension campus, standing 5 feet 9 inches tall, Tom Radio Free Nichols. And now, in the blue corner, hiding out of his own Twitter account, standing 5 feet 7 inches tall, and current champion of the world, Matthew Mailpattern Dowd.
I just love that.
It's so good.
I just love that.
I
I suppose I have to go first.
You do. You have to go first in the first round and the third. So let's hear it from Matthew Dowd.
I'm going to just start with a nice what I would classify as just a direct hit. This comes as in a reply to Jonah Goldberg, who's kind of funny, but this is the reply that Matt Dowd provides. Our politics will only be detoxified if the GOP, as it is currently constituted, is gone. That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
Detoxified.
Detoxified is gone.
Smug, what do you got for us?
Oh, I have a lot of ammo.
But this is the strategy of King of the Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go tweet for tweet. You got to pick a tweet that.
So One thing about Tom Nichols is he has such a disdain
for the common man.
Like nothing makes him more angry than working class people. Like that's what sets him off.
Which is why
he's a nice fit.
Which is a nice fit because you
nice
know
fit.
I mean, it's
with
the
your
exact
attacks
opposite,
on people in,
you know?
in code,
So
you know.
So Tom Nichols tweets out, perhaps we should dispatch yet another reporter to yet another diner to ask yet another old man in a red hat why sedition and racism aren't so bad if the only alternative is a commie like Joe Biden.
Wow.
He just put it out there.
It's good. Holmes, can you read yours one more time?
I sure can. So this isn't a reply to Jonah Goldberg where they're talking about owning the Trumpies or Goldberg is essentially bad-mouthing Dowd because Dowd has just become a full-blown lib,
right?
Where he used to push conservative propaganda as part of the Bush campaign and everything else. He says, our politics will only be detoxified if the GOP as it is currently constituted is gone. So the way you think about it is that means that like the only thing that is toxic in politics, it's certainly not AOC. It's not Black Lives Matter. It's not.
That's the most generic take.
The detoxifying pieces of our national discourse that are contributing to our problem. It's just the Republican Party.
Right.
Anyone at the Lincoln Project could drop that. There's like a dozen, like brainworm libs who could drop that. But for this guy to be like, hold up, if you're at a diner, old man wearing a red hat,
well, so
for God's sake, you're the enemy of the
this
state.
This is my favorite part of the game, where there's sort of closing arguments between each round, and the thing I really like about Smug's tweet here, and for our listeners who don't know what he's referencing there, what he's referencing is that after Donald Trump was elected president, there are a lot of reporters who tried to understand who is the Trump base, who are these voters, why were they angry with politics as usual, and that in that term, interviewing white men in diners became sort of a catch-all for a pejorative way of looking down on these voters as if they're somehow some subspecies, some animal to be investigated in a zoo, which is of course completely offensive. But the fact that he mentions it in that tweet, I enjoy because it's an indictment not just of politics but of the media. And for that, round one goes
Let's
to
go.
Smug.
Okay, I'll take it. I felt
look,
like it was reasoned analysis.
I reasoned it out.
Reasoned analysis.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I'm going to have to bring out the big guns here.
Go for it.
Well, you don't go first.
No,
round
I
two.
mean he's allowed.
Oh yeah,
if he wants to just.
See, look, he tried to let you go first.
No, I know he's gaming.
He's gaming it.
Okay,
I just like that he knows this game. Dem
Yeah, it's
Journo,
nice that
he
he
doesn't
knows
know
the
the rules.
rules. Yeah.
I know
At
the
least
rules,
yeah.
folks. This is. I think this encapsulates.
He's going for the
Radio
kill.
Free Tom so much. June 10th. Tom Nichols. It feels blissfully normal to be on Amtrak and to be, as ever, bitched out about the non-existent Wi-Fi and the loud jerk talking behind me into his phone. How relatable, right,
Oh
folks?
man, that's tough.
I mean,
Holy shit!
This is like Tom Joad. Like, this is a representative of the people. He knows the people's voice. He's on that Amtrak, and the Wi-Fi is not fast enough for Tom Nichols.
I have to bring out the big gun because I got to put that one down in order to survive. Okay, so Matt Dow, this is June 16th, 6:51 a.m., bright and early.
Wow.
He's really bright and early. Today, in 1858, Lincoln gives his House Divided speech. Quote, "A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure. permanently half slave and half free. It will become all one thing or all the other. This is true for our democracy as well.
Dude, second round knockout. I won that. That's a second
Are
round
you
knockout.
kidding me?
Totally.
That is nuclear. That is nuclear in a way that I haven't seen in a long time.
You know, so two things. So, number one, Smug's tweet. What I love about it is the juxtaposition between the first tweet where he's putting down these Trump voters and diners and how their opinions don't matter, and then this tweet is a Sella corridor brainworm
At its
lib
worst.
media take about, you know, this is back to normal.
It's a lifestyle. It's a
great.
lifestyle.
It's
yeah.
so great. It's so great. The thing I love about Dowd, and I think we've mentioned this previously on the program, is that he's got a couple different levels with his tweet. So, I mean, Jen Rubin, fantastic. Brainworms, like rock star. Dowd has so much more
range.
Variety. Yeah, it's a lot of range.
Yeah.
When he does these historical tweets,
it's theatrical.
It's theatrical, and he's just this neutral observer who's telling you the history of how things went. But like that is just
this
absurd.
is true of our democracy as well.
Right now,
this is a house divide. We're talking about slavery.
Right.
In 1858, one of the most famous speeches ever given in American history. This is true of our democracy as well. If that's what we're going through.
That's a win. That's a win for Holmes.
Okay.
1-1.
All right.
I got fire. I got fire.
Okay, well, I have something here too, and I debated not including it because it's just so, in my view, the context of it is so offensive. He must have been on a racial week.
It was a racial week.
Racial week for Dowd.
Yeah, he must have been. The only thing I can think of is that he was super infatuated with the debate over critical race theory, which is just like been omnipresent on the left this week. If you noticed, this week for the first time, the left has sort of like galvanized.
They were so mad they got called out.
Galvanized in response
they got called out
to critical race theory, and so they're like putting. You saw Brandy. What the hell's her last name?
Zadrozny. It's part of NBC's team that ostensibly investigates disinformation, but their job is to push
create
disinformation.
Yeah.
Right.
So they all kind of like, you can tell there must be like a journal listserv on this because all of a sudden they all come out of the woodwork, and now it's like the time to push back on the critical race theory complaints. So here's Matt Dowd, of course, right, leading the way. If we aren't teaching about history of racism in America, then we aren't teaching factual history. For decades, we have not been teaching kids the actual history of America and all that includes. It is time we teach every part of our history. Now, here is where I think this is like the craziest statement of all time. In and of itself, that's sort of like fine. Is anyone listening to this program, anyone, had an education anywhere in this country that has not taught about the racial history of slavery, of the civil rights movement, of Reconstruction, of all of the injustices that have been done to African Americans across this country for generations? Like, is there any human being that has not had an education
It's the most
in that?
fascinating thing about their critique of critical race theory on the left is they say, you can't even define it because it's not a real thing. All of this is fake outrage.
I can define it. It's neo-racism.
Is what it is.
That's what it is.
It's child abuse.
Neo-racism.
You're going to go and you're going to tell a bunch of kids they're either oppressors or they're victims in their culture. And also their school is racist because white people are in control of it.
Right.
I mean, that's the shit that they're saying to our
That
kids.
is.
But they say it's not real. And they say, also, we're not teaching racial history in America.
That we haven't.
So it's either real or it's not real.
Like the implication here is that, like, if you were in my generation, you never heard Martin Luther King.
Right. You didn't learn about the March on Selma. You didn't learn about Reconstruction. You didn't learn about the Civil War or Lincoln, the slaves or Juneteenth. Or
I mean, that's
any of
what
that.
he's saying.
Right.
That's literally
I got
what he's saying.
What's fascinating is in order to push their agenda, they have to create the most obscure, ridiculous straw man.
Right.
It's just they create this fiction that occurs.
Right.
Right?
Right. That it's just like a hero white man that is just...
And then they say at the same time, critical race theory isn't a thing that's actually happening. But if you talk to any parent who has spent the last year on fucking Zoom,
right,
seeing their kids have to go through this bullshit and seeing the handouts that they get, it's real. I'm sorry, critical race theory is a thing that's actually happening in this country.
It's happening.
And we went from a discussion of police brutality against African Americans, which is a thing that is real, that happened. We went from that to a discussion of your school is white supremacist.
You
that
are white
you,
supremacist.
as a white person, are racist to your core, irredeemably racist as a society.
And also your kid, who is just as innocent as the driven snow,
it's like
is
culpable.
also a racist.
It's like Calvinistic
and ultimately culpable.
Neo-racism.
It's intergenerational racial guilt for,
But here's
for
the thing.
children. For children.
I got this, and I still have it.
Okay.
Like Tom Nichols is, I mean, the guy's a gem for awful takes.
Let's see what he's got.
But he really even this discussion we've just had, he distills it completely. He tells you what the game is. On June 15th, Tom Nichols, he's responding to Joe Walsh. Doesn't matter even what Joe Walsh says because Tom Nichols straight up lets you know what he's about. He says, Joe, I respect what you try to do out there, but I don't see that it got any traction with the people we're talking about. People who are good and decent to their families and friends can also be horrendously bad citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, you can be a good individual in your community, to your family,
Be a
and your
bad
friends.
citizen.
But if you're not checking off the list that the left comes up with, every couple weeks, you're still an awful human being. Irredeemable. Burn in the fires of hell.
I don't know. I feel like Dowd may have survived. What do we got here?
Well,
This is the indictment. Like, Dowd
he
sees
does speak to it.
Dowd sees a piece of it. He distills it. Tom Nichols has said it straight up. It doesn't matter if you're good to your family, friends, and community. If you don't toe the line on what we demand, you're an awful human.
So, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Tom Hanks put up this op-ed or something.
He got canceled. Or
About,
something, right?
it was about the Tulsa massacre and how we should learn more about racial history in
Yeah.
this country. Which sure,
It's a great point.
great point. There's obviously things in the past that America
Yeah, if you don't know about the Tulsa massacre, you should learn about it.
about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The response from the left was, and somebody put up an article about it saying, Tom Hanks is a non-racist. That's not good enough. He needs to be an anti-racist. He needs to accept.
That's the
he
game,
needs
dude.
to accept that he, as a white man who has been in Hollywood and starred in movies, has centered whiteness in culture. He's a bad guy.
That's the thing is
it's never enough.
This is not about ideology. This
If
is
you
about
can hate Tom
submission.
Hanks, you got something to
Right.
hate.
Yeah. It's not about ideology. It's about submission.
So, on a straight reading of the tweets, I think Holmes would win. On the implications of the tweet, I got to give it to Smug.
Oh!
Smug
No.
wins.
Boom! Wow, that's huge.
Oh, I didn't see that coming.
Huge win. So this is honestly like, a historic victory for Tom Nichols.
Down goes
dethroned
Frazier.
the king.
Yeah.
Dowd has been on such a tear. We were discussing, options about could
Do
have
we
some,
retire his
MVP?
jersey?
Yeah, retiring the jersey and such.
I think we may have.
Wow.
I think we may have solved the problem inadvertently.
Yeah.
Well, look at great game.
Yeah.
Great game. I appreciate the full episode. This has been terrific.
That's the thing is beyond great game, great episode. We've been on a tear, honestly.
So good.
With our guests, with our numbers. Folks, we thank you so much for listening. Everyone out there, do me a favor, tell a friend about the show. Our numbers are blowing up, so we're bringing the people what they want. Tell a buddy, get them to subscribe. And so, well, you know what? I think the people deserve a bonus. Let's give them an extra episode this week.
Oh, you want to do that?
Yeah, you know what?
Oh, an extra episode.
I mean, you know, our numbers have been so great. Our folks are so supportive. Let's give them one more. Let's give them a Friday episode.
Okay.
How about that?
Okay.
We in?
Okay.
We in?
We're
All right.
in. On the fly, I commit.
Let's go. So, until next time, minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you on Friday. Stay ruthless.